get it cracking like a levy. I'ma show 'em all how to party if they let me. Cue the countdown and release the confetti. The party don't start till I get there. Sit aside and the rest and it ain't fair. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Yeah, give me my crown if it's just right. You make it look good. Watch yourself, huh? Yeah, you make it look good. Don't let it watch yourself, huh? Cause you make it look good. Watch this. Pull up with the top down. Ain't anything. I'm way too hot now. I radiate. Don't need a rear view. They behind me. Cause my future's so bright in my blind. Hold up. Why I gotta shine so bright? Don't need a reason. Escorting my haters out. They wish you sleep. Can't be nobody else. I'ma be myself. So they gon' have to watch me treat myself. You make it look good. Watch yourself, huh? Yeah, you make it look good. Don't let it watch yourself, huh? Cause you make it look good. You make it look good. Watch yourself, huh? Yeah, you make it look good. Don't let it watch yourself, huh? Cause you make it look good. Watch yourself, huh? You make it look good. You make it look good. Watch yourself, huh? Yeah, you make it look good. Don't let it watch yourself, huh? Cause you make it look good. Watch this.
What do you do when you manage a team of like Gen Z people who don't care to go above and beyond?
Oh, well, that's easy. You just simply pay above and beyond, and then you get above and beyond efforts.
We're not gonna do the song today. Y'all are here. Y'all are here already. Sorry about that brief delay. In addition to me just not paying close enough attention to the clock, I also have a very emotional Jack Russell Terrier, and sometimes when I go to make a coffee, he requires a belly rub. And he won't let me forget it if I fail to do my duty. And he tells me this by presenting his belly and then looking at me, offended. And I must give him a belly rub. So that did happen. We're all set. We got everything taken care of. How are y'all doing tonight? Dustin Buck. I thought that was Block for a second. This dude is noodle arm, hair lip loser. Yes. Well, I see you've seen the show before. Wireless Mike, hello. Pinkerbell. Groovy Tunes, well, thank you. That was Wave Haven. I'm a big fan. Squisher King. Hanging out here for a bit while I cook. Good to see some familiar faces. What's up, everyone? Good to see you, Squisher King. Mars Falcon. Those old school tunes made of iron. Dangerous stuff. I love it. Well, it's good to made of pig iron, maybe. I guess steel, says the anti-corporatist. And my dogs are goth with the appreciation for the Jack Russell. He's a good laddie. Well, we have a couple of fun ones, and I want to follow up on also a little bit of what we were talking about. Little bit of what we were talking about with that Cornell West video. Guns down, folks. It's that was a very productive conversation I felt like I had with Lottie, and I want to add on to it and sing your praises a little bit. But first, let's ditch some nerds. I've got a thing from David Pakman that I would like to show you, because this is the news portion of the program, just updating you on what's going on around the world, around the country. And David Pakman gave a great summary of how it's going for Donald. Did we already do Jamiroquai? Let's just say Donald Jay-Z Trump. Yeah, it's David Pakman with the update, and he is discussing a series of events that Trump rallies that Trump did between his various arrests, and it was funny. Here he is.
Round in South Dakota over the weekend for the failed former president, twice impeached, 4 times indicted and arrested, civilly liable rapist Donald Trump. That's the guy. But before we get to our interviews with Trumpists, we have to look at this totally farcical attempt at a speech by the failed former president. Donald Trump apparently thought, hey, I don't know, between arrests and criminal trials, I'll head out to South Dakota and do a speech. Kristi Noem will endorse me, and she's going to, be a brown-nosing sycophant the way she's been, and the entire thing. This could not have gone more poorly for Trump. Rambling incoherently. Take a look at this. Does anyone know what this is about?
Remember Hillary with the thing with the women screaming? That one woman with the glasses, she's become famous? No. That was the most beautiful stage I've ever seen. By the end of the evening, it didn't look pretty. They rigged the presidential election.
Any idea what on earth Trump is talking about? And you'll notice that during the Newsmax broadcast, if you're watching.
Hold on. He's about to make a good point, but I want to stop him after he made a bad point. We know, I bet a lot of folks know what he's talking about. He's talking about that woman going like, that lady? Yeah, she was a meme for a while. And by the way, she was right. The kind of stuff she was terrified was going to happen is exactly what happened. Roe versus Wade got overturned. Americans lost a right that they had for the first time in our history. They got that taken away. Unless you consider the right to take away another person's rights in their entirety in the form of slavery to be a right Americans once had. But no, she was quite correct to make that face, and Trump making fun of her tells me he really, really has underestimated the attitude and the political savviness of the progressive movement, because it's not been the centrist Democrats that have been kicking his ass. It's been progressives.
Phone number, they were, what strange times we're living in. Alongside the Trump speech was a Rudy Giuliani legal defense fund promotion on the side of the screen. Truly.
Come on now. I need to go back a little bit. That's, by God. Did you think you would ever be living in an actual satire? Like, if I were to imagine what the Republican Party was going to look like as an adult when I was a kid, or rather, when I was a kid, if I would have imagined what the Republican Party would have looked like in the distant future of now, this is the kind of ridiculous satire I would have imagined. Ex-president, twice impeached Donald Trump on trial finally because he was too public with the crimes he was doing, and Rudy Giuliani begging for money for his legal defense. Yeah, just appreciate how badly they're getting whipped. That Newsmax is what's covering Trump here, and part of that stream is pleading for money for broke-ass, treacherous Rudy Giuliani. Evil, see you next Tuesday, Rudy Giuliani needs to beg for money. Remember, if the voters, if the folks in that crowd give money to Rudy Giuliani because they saw it advertised during a Trump speech, they're going to, in their souls, they're going to say, I've done my part with my $5, $10, $100, whatever they were going to give. And they are less likely to give that to their local candidates because they'll say, wait a minute, I did my part. I already did my political donation for this month. Every time they do that, it drains resources. Bear it in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Let's let this power through.
Screen. Truly incredible stuff. Next, Donald Trump arguing that because Joe Biden is getting him indicted, when he is president again, he will just call and demand the indictment of people. This is the dangerous dictatorial stuff I was telling you about last week.
91 fake and phony charges. 91. How many charges are there? But we're going to ask for dismissals of a lot of it. Most of it is just you ask for dismissal. It's called dismiss the charges. But remember, it's a Democrat charging his opponent. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. That means that if I win and somebody wants to run against me, I call my attorney general. I say, listen, indict him. Oh, he hasn't done anything wrong that we know of. I don't know. Indict him on income tax evasion. You'll figure it out.
There you go.
PNC Bio saying U.S. politics are fascinating. They are, man. Weren't always, in my opinion. I think folks did a really good job of keeping it boring enough that people didn't pay close attention. But God help us, it ain't that way no more. But I'll tell you, Canada's given us a run for our money with Ford and Palaver. Good God. Hopefully you guys can staunch the bleeding of sanity before it gets this bad over there.
Oh, there you go.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Trump openly saying, I'll just have my political opponents indicted. Of course, there is no evidence that Joe Biden has been involved in any of the 4 criminal indictments of Trump. If anybody has such evidence, please forward it to me. Trump then reviews or refreshes, rehabilitates the tired lie that he's being.
And we know what he's going to say. I never did anything wrong, and I've only done good things, and anybody saying a bad thing about me is actually bad. Joe Biden is the one that wants to sleep with his daughter. Did you hear how Joe Biden talked about his daughter? Did you hear that? Said such awful things about his daughter, Joe Biden. Such terrible things he said. This clown, we know what he is already. No need to go over it other than to say, yeah, it's mask off. He's going to do the usual thing. He's going to say, when serious people talk to him, he's going to say, it was a joke. I was just joking. Come on. It was a joke. Unless he's in a bad mood, in which case he'll say, I meant it. But we know that regardless, if he gets in that office, he's going to do it. He's going to try to turn this into a dictatorship. I say we know because you guys have expressed that to me often. We are aware, and because we are aware of those stakes, I am delighted to see that we are acting in a unified manner, largely speaking, about what to do about it. Even when we don't have the exact same strategy, even if we think, oh, this guy would be better here, that gal would be better there, we're pretty damn unified. We know that the thing that cannot be is Donald Trump in the White House. Can't happen. Can't be Ron DeSantis either. And I think most people have also learned the lesson that more palatable as a Chris Christie or a Nikki Haley may be, ultimately their goals are the same, just in a more polite wrapping. they're fine with gerrymandering. They're not fine with actually pointing guns at you and saying, at least they don't say they are, they're not fine with physically stopping you from voting, but they are fine with arranging things quietly in such a way as to make your vote irrelevant. Fortunately, because of the fact that folks follow politics real close these days, including hey PNC Bio, people watching it that don't themselves have the ability to vote in them. That gives me hope. That gives me a lot of hope. And I will say further, even though it does give me hope, let's learn our lessons from 2015 and acknowledge that 2015 and 2016 that hope is not enough. Not enough. So let's talk about what you can do. But first, a word from the audience. My dogs are goth. I swear they look across the border for ideas. I hope not. We don't have a lot of great ones. Mars Falcon. Looney Tunes. Good to see you. Good to see you. Tao and Jack. Hello. I just saw the name. There it is. I'm sorry. Does Section 3 of the 14th Amendment make it clear that Trump should be disqualified for an insurrection? I think yes. However, I feel some disagreement with the folks that are pushing for that right now. Not so much that I'm confident I'm right and they're wrong and I want to do a thing about it, but as long as we're talking about it, I'll toss to you where I am right now and be clear that I'm looking for guidance on this. I think it's a mistake. Assuming all these court cases happen tomorrow, because I don't know when the various court cases will happen. I have no sense of how long it would take. But it hasn't been proved in a criminal sense that Trump did anything. And a big part of what I am advocating for here, when I talk, for example, to MAGA types who stop by and who have the courage to sit through this kind of stuff, is that they watch what the court has to say. I say what I think happened all the time regarding January 6th and the fake electors. I say what politicians came to various conclusions, what they think happened, or what I say what is the opinion of politicians who ran a whole committee on this thing. But at the end of the day, we have a system for proving whether or not something happened in a criminal sense, and that is the court of law. So I would say that I would be more interested in seeing these things the very day after a guilty verdict. Doesn't matter how long. We don't have to wait for sentencing. We don't have to wait for that. That's irrelevant. What we have to do is take the guilty verdict and say, okay, so he did do this thing. Now we can say that. Now it's established in a courtroom. Now we apply the 14th Amendment. Now, having said that, I have voter PTSD. I have constituent PTSD from Democrats sitting on their damn hands and never doing anything. So I am real hesitant to tell them to slow down. I do not advocate for you contacting them and saying, should you be doing this yet? No. If they finally found their courage, let them sing. Let them sing. Maybe this court case will get thrown out or whatever. But it's demonstrably different, the cases that will be brought after the guilty verdict, which I just don't see how Trump can avoid. And then we're just down to the only question, which is, does that guilty verdict come in time? Want to know why I was annoyed with Merrick Garland for the beginning of this channel, and why I remain of the opinion that he is our most disappointing attorney general ever, including Bill Barr, because we knew he was a snake. This is why. It's real close. Some of the options that we had might not be available to us. But we also have an entire year to worry about this. And if he's not on the ballot in 1 or 2 states, that's it. The reason they are acting so blatantly dishonest now is that they just don't have the political strength to get elected in a fair fight or anything resembling a fair fight. They need every advantage they can get. And if they have even one disadvantage, the Republicans, who are not interested in representing a majority of Americans, they don't stand a damn chance. The anti-corporatists. Yeah, but the original interpretation of the 14th Amendment was that it didn't require education. I'm going to try to pronounce that again. Adjudication. If you had fought for the Confederacy, you couldn't be in the military or government. That's true. That's true, and that's a good point. And let me add on, or stress again, that I'm still not sure 100% how I feel. But let me add in something else. If you fought for the Confederacy, there was a record of it. You can't just accuse a Yankee of having fought for the Confederacy, and so on and so forth. You do need to be able to prove that a thing is true in some way. Now, maybe that process would be done politically. I don't know. I'm not sure what that would look like. I would love to have a guest on that could explain it to me real slow, because I've listened to a couple of things that sounded to me like they were contradictory on this, and I'm annoyed that there's a new arcane political thing that we have to learn, because we've been put in the position where somebody that is a traitor to the country is running. Rex Trek, good to see you. Yes, indeed. Good evening. Mars Falcon, the problem with not defining what insurrection means in a court of law is that anyone can accuse anyone of it and then disqualify them. Not needing to be convicted of it makes it even more nebulous. Yes. And I think that's... Let me put it like this. There are a category of problems that I would label as good ones to have. And we're going to be dealing with more and more of these. For example, the Democrats finally feeling in their skin enough to actually be aggressive against Republicans, to actually take the threat of Republicans messing around with elections seriously. That's a good problem to have, even if I don't wholly agree with how they're doing or whatever. All right, look, that's a fight that the Republican Party is going to have to undertake. That's going to take up some of their energy. Whether the non-traitors to the country win or lose that fight, it's still going to exhaust more GOP resources. And that is the name of the game. This is an attrition fight. Why we're starting good and early. We're going to kite them if you play MMOs. We're just going to kite these punks for a long, long time. Hit them with the DOT. Court case, court case, court case. You want to object to this thing, then you got to object to this thing, because it's going to happen otherwise. It's a good thing to have. Another good problem to have is having such progressive energy that we're legitimately debating in the videos I'm putting out and the comments under them and in the live chat. We're legitimately debating whether a third party lefty should be the person we all support. Set aside how you actually feel about that. Just set aside what your answer is to that question and appreciate the fact that there's enough energy that it's a serious question. God damn, that's a good sign. That's a real good sign. That's one of those things where no matter who wins in that particular discussion, we all do. To some degree. And to that, boy, do I have a suggestion for y'all. That's the subject of our next video, because I'd like you to run for office. I recently did a video where I clarified some of my comments about Cornel West, and I'll do it again very quickly. I don't want him personally to be president because I disagree with him on a couple of huge issues. A lot of other folks did, and I asked for why you did and what your reasoning was in the comments, and I got to go through that video and have what is for me an idyllic Sunday afternoon, sipping coffee, petting the terrier, and having an in-depth political discussion, not trying to convince somebody that vaccines aren't a secret plot to put Wi-Fi in your nasal cavity or whatever the hell it is. No, it was a real political discussion, and it really made me think. And it brought something to the front of my mind that I want to discuss now, which is, if this is the kind of folks that are not only voting, but are actually involved in government, we are going to just take this country over. No matter where you fall on that particular office, one office in a nation that's got thousands and thousands, you are the sort of person who should be in charge. I don't know that I would vote the same as you, but I would definitely vote for you. I would. Every one of you. Because you care enough. But all the time, I hear people say, run for office, and they don't really give a pitch for how that is done. I would recommend, first and foremost, that you start easy. Run for the easiest office to get. Here's why. Number one, you should be able to find out whether you're good or bad at the job of being a politician in a setting where it doesn't it's not the highest stakes thing imaginable. You're not going to be heartbroken if you don't get it. Pick out a job that sounds kind of fun. And then understand that you are learning how the political process works. Not just, oh, whose hand do you have to shake? Nonsense. None of that. You talk to the people. That's who you deal with. No, it's how do you sign up? How much paperwork do you need to get together? How much money do you need? Do you need any money at all? How much time do you need? Let's go over it. Find out. This here is from a site called Online Candidate. What are the easiest political offices to run for? Let's go over it. This is by Shane Daly, and you know it's a crunchy website when you get a pop-up like that. Running for any political position is a challenge, but some are easier than others. Without experience, many first-time political candidates have no idea where to start in politics. You may not know how to start or even know what opportunities exist. If this is you, you are not alone. Local offices typically have less responsibility than national or state-level elected positions. Local offices may include positions such as mayor, councilman or woman, city council member. It's the same thing. etc. Positions at this level require little to no experience, but come with low pay and little job security. National and federal office positions have more responsibility and often require higher levels of education, like an undergraduate degree in political science or law. So what office should you run for? If you are looking for an elected position that is easy to win, and this is what I recommend, get the ones that are easy to win. You probably want to target one that does not require a large and expensive campaign. Let's be a $0 politician. What government positions are available? Positions in local government are often easier to campaign for and win than yada, yada, yada. However, here we go. They can be just as important to the lives and welfare of constituents. Here are some offices and positions you may want to consider. This is actually important. The titles and duties vary depending on your state or municipality. I have not put a link in the description that lists out all the titles, for example, because of this. I have not put a link in the description that tells you specifically what you need to do in your area, because I would be doing it all the way up until election day and the work wouldn't be done. Instead, I've given you what you need to search for, and it's pretty easy. You just say, how do I run for office in my area? If you are looking to start a political career of public service, consider running. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Here's an example of the kinds of things you can run for. Mayor, city council, at-large councilman or councilwoman, town council, alderman, selectman. I don't know what a selectman is. I forgot to look that up. Precinct delegate, assessor. But here's what you do. Go down that list and Google what the responsibilities are, what the actual job entails. For those first two, the responsibility is largely attending city council meetings. You listen to the issues provided, and then you vote on them. It's that simple. If you have never seen a city council meeting before, because of the Open Meeting Acts, most city councils now are required to stream their meetings. Go look for your city council, your town council, even what is it called? A city board of commissioners, or just a board of commissioners. Look that up on YouTube. I bet you'll find it. And it's gonna seem boring as sin until you realize that the very environment you live in was dictated by that boring conversation, and it becomes a hell of a lot less boring when it's people informing you of the facts surrounding a decision you will be asked to make. Asked to make. There we go. County governments are in charge of enforcing county and state laws and regulations. They provide public safety services to the people living in the county, including healthcare, sheriff and police protection, county courts, roads, and highway maintenance. The county is also responsible for registration and authentication of vital events such as birth, marriage, death records, and voter registration and election administration. Boy, would you rather have a bunch of right-wingers in charge of election administration, a bunch of people who don't believe in facts or truth or reality, or would you rather have a bunch of lefties who are going to do their damnedest to make sure that everybody is allowed to vote? County elected officials in offices, etc., etc. Ooh, one of them is sheriff, though. Be warned, don't let that sheriff go, if you know anybody who is a lefty cop, truly, anyone who is a lefty cop, try to get them to run for sheriff. Because there will be less dead black folks if lefties are in charge. That's a reality. But there are other reasons you should run, or at least forget actually running. There are other reasons you should look into running. There's value just in searching. Here it is. let's start with just the value in searching. Let's say you search in your area. What do I need to do? What do I actually have to do to have my name be on a ballot? And you find out those answers. And you think about it for a weekend, you drink it over, and you decide, no, it's just not me. I just watched one of those city council meetings. I got 15 minutes in, and I saw a dark vision of my future where I've lost every third weekend of my life to this nonsense, and I can't stand it. I don't want to do it. All right, fair enough. But you've still gained a knowledge of what is actually needed. So if you come across someone over the course of the next year that you genuinely think should run, let's say a retired teacher looking to make a little extra money, maybe they want to be mayor, you can tell them exactly what to do. You can say, well, did you go down to the assessor's office? Did you go down to your county? Yada, 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 yada. Here's the basics of what you got to do. Determine the position in which you are interested in and fill its filing requirements. Then obtain the necessary documents from your local or county clerk or the State Bureau of Elections. You determine that by Googling, how do I run for mayor of blank, city council in blank, etc., etc. Even if you don't actually submit the documents, you'll have experience navigating the system in your neck of the woods, making you better able to assist your preferred candidates. Now let's take it up a notch. Let's say you run and you lose. You will have still pushed the entire race farther to the left. If there's a primary in your area, might not be, but if there is a primary in your area, the primary candidate that beats you is going to see how much or how little you won by. And I'll tell you, in a small town, a couple of dozen votes is earth-shaking. It really can be. So you can make them more interested in having left-leaning ideas. If you run and you lose to you make it through the primaries, and then you lose anyway to the right-winger, don't worry, because you've still made them fight for something that they wouldn't have otherwise had to fight for. After all, if you're a first-timer running and you got all the way to that point, it's unlikely that there would have been a very vigorous campaign in your stead if you hadn't done it. You didn't knock aside anybody who would have done better than you, and you know that because you got there, and they didn't. If that happens in counties all over the United States, and by the way, this is true around the world, if that happens, we are going to utterly drain the money that Republicans have to work with. Remember earlier, talking about Rudy's election fund, saying the people that give to that are going to feel like they've already done their part. It goes the other way too. If somebody donates to their pal on the city council and they write them a check for $500, ooh boy, so that person can afford to buy TV ads to just blow you out of the water. That person that wrote the $500 is a hell of a lot less likely to send any money at all to Rudy Giuliani, to Donald Trump, to the Republican Party in general, because they will have felt already like they've done their part. So you're going to be helping massively in that regard. In addition, it's possible that local races can request money from the state GOP. Say, hey, we don't want to get embarrassed here. Help us out. Let me wet my beak a little bit. And then you're directly draining money from other worse candidates. Around, I say worse in terms of the effect they can have. Good. Then there's the other option. What happens if you get into office? If you get into office, you might find that you're damn good at it. You might find that this has been a job that's been waiting for you your whole life. And you just didn't know it. Maybe they've been waiting for your act 2 in life. Maybe they've been waiting for you to wander in, push open the saloon doors one day. This might be the beginning of something. At the very least, it's going to be an experience that will allow you to have a better understanding of what's happening around you constantly, so that you can vote smarter, you can advise better, and maybe you can move up. It's also going to help quite a bit when local news reporters have to ask you your opinion on this, that, or the other thing. I cannot tell you how many times we've, in the local news, we've been doing a report just during election season about what all the candidates have to say about this issue or that. And there just aren't voices in the Democratic Party to respond. So you wind up with a bunch of candidates doing various different right-wing takes on the same issue. But if you're in office, or if you're a candidate for office, they are required, by the law, they're required to get your opinion as well. So just being able, like you're doing right now in the comments, just being able to weigh in with a progressive political take, being part of the conversation, is hugely important. So what can you do about the right-wingers who are trying to turn the United States into a dictatorship? Show up, compete against them, take over your town, make it a haven. Plant some seeds for a potential political future, either for yourself or for others. And regardless, make yourself a voice in every room where important conversations are happening. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Tinkerbell, fantastic resource. Thanks. Oh, it's my pleasure. Yes, links in the description, folks. It's a breakdown of how you can run for office, and I would stress again, Google your area. It's actually pretty straightforward, and it's designed so that regular folks can do it. Not everybody can be a Navy SEAL, but almost everybody can at least sign up for the military. Average folks can. That was a terrible analogy. My dogs are goth. You will never know unless you try. Exactly. Make them find the bone spurs. My dogs are goth. I'm going to skip the rest of those. Elaine Sharp, good evening. Good to see you. Looney Tunes is hoping that Jake can join us at Letterhack, who's on right now after this. I certainly can. Tell you what. We got one more what you can do. It's a quick one, so I'll be super fast. I do want to see the Letterhack. While I'm setting this up, I just wanted to thank you guys for this whole month. Y'all have been giving me an opportunity to stretch my producer muscles a little bit, and I think I've missed that dearly. I really have. Building shows of all kinds, it's a fun experience, and we've gotten to build some cool stuff together. The wrestling thing, by the way, we've got our first guest lined up. It is not going to happen this Saturday, though. It's going to happen the next Saturday because of the way schedules work. That being said, we might do something depending on how we all feel. It's like a dress rehearsal with just you and your old pal Jake going through the motions to see if it works. But I'm going to try to recruit some of you for that if you're down for it. Whoopsie daisy. Well, let's leave politics aside for a second. This channel was never meant to be entirely politics-oriented. You don't have to rely only on politics to make the world a better place. Here's a simple thing you can do if you're an environmentalist and you happen to be a homeowner, or you have influence over what a homeowner plants. It is how you can make the actual environment better with your own two hands.
This is what America's grasslands are supposed to look like. Not like this. These are non-native pasture grasses, and they don't provide any cover for wildlife. Seriously, this is way taller than most people's lawns, and how do we expect them to find cover in this when they're used to having this? This is what most people would get if they stopped mowing their lawns. Just invasive plants going to seed, out-competing native species. When this is what we need, things like eastern gama grass and greasy grass. These aren't just providing cover, they're providing food for wildlife. These tall grasses are what built America's prairies. And look, underneath them, you have these shady areas, these trails, where wildlife hang out and nest and raise their young. True conservation means getting these places back to what they're supposed to be. And you hear those insects? That's food for wildlife. That's what your yard is supposed to sound like. So take a section of your yard that you don't use and help us bring back America's grasslands.
But that's not all, folks. Oh, will he make it in time? Not quite. That's not all, folks. Let's check that. Nope. Let's check this out. Yeah, you can plant native grasses in your backyard. Sounds simple. It is simple. It literally is that simple. Because that grass, when it reproduces, will spread. And if for some reason that starts happening with your lawn, if it spreads to a nearby field, it's better to be spreading native grasses than an invasive species, because the environment around here, wherever here is for you, is built around that species and not the invasive one. But if you don't even want to bother with grass, in fact, if you want to make your life easier and help the environment, okay, we got you covered there as well. Which are the best bee-friendly and eco-friendly alternatives to grass lawns in backyards? This is from EcoHome. And the author, is Lydia Paris Bolduc and Robert J. Jamiroquai Pearson. The traditional green grass we use to cover our front and backyards has many disadvantages and, quite honestly, very little benefit. Scrolling down to the actual stuff. We already made the case. Alternatives for grass. Ground covers. Choosing an alternative. Oh, my God. Ground cover plants. Alternative to standard grass lawns. Just say the word succulent, please. I'm trying to get there. Ground cover sprawl. All right. Ground covers sprawl across the ground, keeping low and eliminating the need to mow, providing the perfect alternative to classic grass lawns. This category includes many low-maintenance and creeping plants which spread quickly, smother weeds, and fill out pathways without needing to resort to nasty herbicides. The climate you live in and the layout of your landscape will ultimately determine which ground covers will perform best in your yard. If you have a bright, sunny area to fill with ground cover plants, there are a lot of options, including creeping jenny, creeping herbs such as thyme and oregano, Japanese sweet flag. I'm going to read this in a voice that will make exactly one person laugh. Japanese sweet flag, buffalo grass, clover, as well as fescue, flowering meadows, Asian star jasmine, and barbary cotton-eastern. Why these? First of all, I'm a fan of the Japanese style of gardening where it looks very, very natural, and you can use the Japanese style with Western plants. 2, it is much easier to maintain a yard if you don't have a lot of spoons and you don't like mowing all the time. Well, succulents are a great way to go about things. They use less water, generally speaking. They retain more water, for that matter. And also, most importantly, you pick plants that are not invasive species. Is it going to change the world overnight? No. But if we start doing this kind of thing, and we find a way to do it well, so that you make your yard the envy of the neighborhood, you will inspire others to do the same, and you will start a cultural trend which will be helpful. It will have long-lasting implications that are difficult to measure, but you can assume are happening. For example, companies offering green alternatives or healthier for the environment alternatives to sod, because not because they give a damn, but because they see there's a market for it. You can make it a point of pride. You know how people take pride in having their lawn just so crisp. You can do that, and you can be snobby in a fun, playful way with your friends. Like, well, I see you got a lot of succulents. Would you import those from Europe? You have European succulents in your yard? Ugh. Why go to all the effort if you're going to do it wrong? We could be, that kind of can be fun trash talking. And you could also just choose to not be a douche about it as well, and say, and to just make your yard nice and applaud the best efforts of others that are trying to do nice as well, trying to do good as well. But that is something simple you can do. It's a project you can do with long-lasting effects. And if I'm honest, when you need to blow off some steam, sometimes it's healthy to get out in nature. And between now and election season, there's going to be a lot of times where you're eager to unwind a bit. And here's a healthy way you can do it. Worth considering, folks. I also like saying the word succulent because it's not actually dirty, but it does sound dirty. That's amongst my favorite naughty things to say. But I do genuinely believe that that this type of gardening is a thing that will help us in the long term. Now, in the interest of keeping things moving, we're going to jump straight to the closer, and then I'm going to shut down the stream. So I want to say here and now, this has been WYCD Wicked, and your old pal Jake's been enjoying hanging out with you. Before we go, we got one more thing from not Hank, John Green, with an update on how things are going on Twitter.
I know most of y'all aren't on Twitter, which is great. I'm proud of you, but it's going amazing over there. Like, here's the verified Eli Lilly account saying, wait a second, is profit-motivated medicine bad? And here's a verified account for Chiquita saying, we've just overthrown the government of Brazil. But don't worry, then later a verified account from Chiquita said, we apologize to those who've been served a misleading message from a fake Chiquita account. We have not overthrown a government since 1954. What else? Here's a verified Roblox account saying we're adding sex to Roblox with adding misspelled. And of course, here's a verified Nestle account saying, we steal your water and sell it back to you. Lol. It's going great. And now they've canceled Twitter Blue because Twitter is beholden to advertisers who are being publicly shamed. And when journalists reached out for comment, they learned that Twitter no longer has a communications department. Don't join Twitter to enjoy this dumpster fire. I will keep you updated. Listen, so I know most of y'all aren't on Twitter, which is great. I'm proud.
For the record, I am on Twitter now.